It's time once more to peruse the august gallery of Walt Disney Mouseterpiece. Works of entertainment easily passing for art, and art easily passing for entertainment. I'm George Plimpton, and frankly, I'm quite pleased to be here. Would you care for a chocolate? No? Well, forgive me if I indulge. I'd like to address, if I may, the subject of child rearing, or if you prefer, duck rearing. I'm referring to that extraordinary descending film, Spare the Rod, which pits Donald Duck against those tireless nephews of his, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Made in 1954, the film is a chef-d'oeuvre of child psychology. Finley Peter Dunn, also known as Mr. Dooley, reminded us that not to spare the rod was to spoil the rod, the child, and the child's father. Don nimbly avoids that result through the sheer force of his temper, and it must be admitted, through the meddlesome intervention of his conscience. The conscience, said H.L. Mencken, is the mother-in-law who never goes away. I've heard a rumor that Don's exasperating experiences with his nephews made such an impression on him that he begged Disney to allow him to play King Lear. It's clear to me that Spare the Rod is a free-form adaptation of the Shakespeare play. As Lear said, blow winds and crack your cheeks, rage, blow. Now, doesn't that sound a lot like Don? Don't you think so? If you don't believe me, watch. Spare the Rod. And here it is. Well, perhaps the goof would have had better luck with a hamster, because part of the problem here may be in the social fabric. Being a dog himself, Goofy's owning a dog might appear to the outside world something like slavery, an imponderable verity. I suspect the key to the puppy's rancor lies in the old Japanese proverb, if you must be a dog, it's best to be the dog of a samurai. There comes a time on Mouseterpiece Theater when we must address ourselves to a crisis point in Western civilization. We are at one such point now, to wit, 1938, and the entry of Donald Duck's 3 nephews into his life. Auspiciously titled Don's 3 Nephews, our next film classic will demonstrate the frenzied pace that was established for Don when Huey, Dewey, and Louie appeared on the mise-en-scène. Don makes valiant attempts to assuage the nephews with tips from a Baedeker to child psychology, but it's hopeless. Those nephews are destined to torment Don as the Furies tormented Orestes. And at least Orestes wasn't related to the Furies. I think Oliver Wendell Holmes summed it up when he said, a child's education should begin at least 100 years before it is born. Too late for Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the gang of 3. Let's see what havoc they wreak with Don's erstwhile peace of mind in Don's 3 Nephews. I can hardly endorse Don's treatment of an actual book, but then perhaps it was a bad book, one of those which fills a much-needed gap, as the philosopher Moses Haddis once wrote in a book review. Fortunately, as Don grew to know and distrust his nephews, he relied on his instincts rather than his library. Well, my instincts inform me that it's time to wind down our Disney adventure this evening. 'Tis a pity, but it's true. And so, with high hopes of seeing you again, I'm George Plimpton for Mouseterpiece Theater. Au revoir.